In this screencast, we will define and discuss framing. According to George Lakoff, frames are mental structures that shape the way we see the world. As a result, they shape the goals we seek, the plans we make, the way we act, and what counts as a good or bad outcome of our actions. In politics, our frames shape our social policies. To change our frames is to change all of this. Reframing is social change. The media serves as an important source of our frames. Those frames are, according to Tankard, the central organizing idea for news content that supplies a context and suggests what the issue is through the use of selection, emphasis, exclusion, and elaboration. Every news story has a frame. Being able to identify and analyze the nature of that frame is an important part of being media literate. Today I want to look at two examples of editorial cartoons that provide us with a way to discuss how frames operate in the media. And these cartoons by Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist Joel Pett not only illustrate an important aspect of how frames work, but they provide us with an example of frames in action, and they demonstrate their ideological potential. 5 of the 6 panels of the first cartoon are simple statements of fact, each of which suggest that corporations are to blame for the character's problems. In this first panel, a corporation has laid him off. In the second panel, a corporation has foreclosed on his home. In the third panel, corporate cash has corrupted the democratic process. In the fourth panel, a corporation has denied his insurance claim. And in the fifth panel, a corporation is tracking his every move, is intruding on his personal privacy. Although all of the facts suggest the character should hate corporations, he hates government. The perceived incongruity provides both the humor and the lesson on how frames work. The humor is found in the fact that while we expect him to hate corporations based on the evidence, his conclusion is to hate government. Any assumption that in response to facts the character would hate corporations is based on a myth. The truth will set us free. If we just tell people the facts, since people are basically rational beings, Lakoff tells us, they'll all reach the right conclusions. However, as Lakoff points out, we know from cognitive science that people do not think like that. People think in frames. To be accepted, the truth must fit people's frames. If the facts do not fit a frame, the frame stays and the facts bounce off. The facts in the first 5 panels do not fit the character's frame, so the facts bounce off and the big government frame sticks. The second cartoon reveals that frames have the potential to advance the interest of institutions, groups, and individuals. In other words, frames can be the site of power struggles. Winning the frame can mean winning in the court of public opinion. In this second cartoon, we see a figure representing corporate power looking down upon tiny figures representing citizens who have internalized the big government frame in the same way that the character in the first cartoon did. And we've already seen how that frame was not, in fact, consistent with the facts of the first 5 panels in the first cartoon. So here we see again, we hate the government, and no taxes, juxtaposed to corporate power, right? The little guy versus big business. The idea that we are going to act rationally upon our self-interest is another of the myths that Lakoff reveals in Don't Think of an Elephant. According to this myth, a normal person who is rational reasons on the basis of self-interest. Modern economic theory and foreign policy are set up on the basis of that assumption. Cognitive scientists, however, have shown that people don't think that way. Remember, when we're talking about frames, we're talking about a process that includes the selection of a set of facts, the emphasis of particular facts and particular examples, the exclusion of anything that might contradict that particular frame, and then the elaboration of the details associated with that specific frame. The big government frame is selective. For example, a big government frame might focus on someone who dies as a result of the FDA's approval process and emphasize the length of the process, calling it, in fact, red tape, calling it bureaucracy, using much of the rhetoric associated with the big government frame. And at the same time, this frame is going to exclude those individuals who are saved by the process, and it's going to ignore details about the safety of the process. These aspects of framing help us to understand the importance of being media literate in this regard. When we recognize that the contest for the frame is the contest for public opinion, we have to recognize that framing is an important part of every media message that we take in.